as product managers, our job first and foremost is to identify what is the problem that we are solving for our customers.
As a product manager, having figured out what and why to build is important, but how to build it is even more important. So can you elaborate on this a little bit and explain why you think this?
Nailing the vision gives you a clear direction, while a well crafted strategy will help you lay down the path of getting there. And all of that will help product managers to deliver solutions that are not just innovative, but are also aligned to our organization's mission and overarching goals. Experimentation is the road to success because that will make you learn so many new aspects which you wouldn't have learned if you would have just directly shipped the product in the market.
I just have to ask, and I ask pretty much everybody when I interview, artificial intelligence.
AI, as I've always been, saying, is more of like a solution, is a tool that can help you solve your customer problems properly, but it's not a problem.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lyoshin podcast. Today's guest is Ridhima Arora. She's the product leader at Walmart, and she's very passionate about building world-class intuitive products for her customers. Um, and today I invited Ridhima to talk about strategy execution and product management, and also how to be a top product manager. So welcome, Ridhima. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much, Wit, for having me. I'm extremely excited to share my thoughts with your audience. For everybody, I'm Ridhima. I'm currently a group product manager at Walmart e-commerce, and I've also led product at Amazon. My journey into product management began after pivoting from consulting, followed by my MBA. This transition allowed me to dive deep into customer problems, take ownership of solving those from ideation to execution. And I genuinely love what I do because, in my opinion, there's no better job out there that lets you blend the customer empathy with strategic execution to bring ideas to life. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today, Wet.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Thank you for being here. And to start the conversation, I wanted with something I read in your profile that you said, like having, as a product manager, having figured out what and why to build is important, but how to build it is even more important. So can you elaborate on this a little bit and explain why you think this is?
Sure. So, with I think there is a huge importance of strategy and execution in product management. And I think there are three things that a product manager should nail and understand it really well. The first is the vision, because the vision is essentially our North Star. It's an aspirational view of the future where what we want to strive to create for our customers. And this vision then focuses on transformative changes that significantly improve our user experience. And similarly, for example, a company like Walmart e-commerce may have a vision around making sure that we have a seamless, personalized shopping experience that feels effortless to our customers. And this vision sets the direction and inspires the team to aim high, pushing boundaries to achieve something truly remarkable. So that's the first part. The second part is the strategy. The strategy, what it does is it allows us to come up with choices that can help us realize that vision. It's a comprehensive plan that outlines how we can get from where we are today to where we want to go tomorrow. And a robust strategy is like very forward looking and integrates multiple aspects to provide a holistic experience. So, in addition to that, according to me, I think an effective strategy and execution are inseparable. It's not just enough for us to like have a brilliant vision, but you need to execute upon it flawlessly as well. And that entails, detailed planning, building strong cross functional relationships, staying committed to your goals, and about making the right trade off decisions and focusing on what will truly move the needle. So, in summary, I think, like, nailing the vision gives you a clear direction, while a well crafted strategy will help you lay down the path of getting there. And all of that will help product managers to deliver solutions that are not just innovative, but are also aligned to our organization's mission and overarching goals. And yeah, that's what I feel totally, that if the product manager can nail these three things really well, the output will resonate with the customers and will also help move the needle from a business standpoint.
Yeah, right. Like I can't remember the quote exactly, but something goes like, the product doesn't exist until you build it and people actually use it and experience it. Before that, everything is like an idea and a great idea or whatever.
Yeah, I
So,
can't
you
agree
know,
more with that. I also feel that ideation without execution is an illusion. And some early product managers feel that, we want to do strategy, like, and then they feel that, execution is very like transactional in nature, and hence is more
mhm.
around operatorship. But I feel that as new product managers, it's very important for you to nail the execution part really well, and post that we'll get multiple opportunities to work on strategy, but it helps you build the trust really quickly as you make tons of decisions along the way.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And then also, starting with discovery phase a little bit, because I think you kind of need to know where to start executing, right? And you mentioned before that the discovery starts with meaningful requirements, and then you execute on them. You're delivering those meaningful requirements to users, and that's how you basically make sure that people like the solution that you've given them. So, what kind of techniques do you use to gather those meaningful requirements?
Okay, so as product managers, our job first and foremost is to identify what is the problem that we are solving for our customers, because unless we understand the problem really well, solution won't help, right? So I expect all the product managers, the new ones, the ones who are not product leaders yet and are into more of, understanding the problem statements, would be to go very deep into a customer problem. In fact, product at all levels are very important. It's very important for them to understand the customer problem. And once you understand that problem really well, there could be multiple solutions through which you can solve that problem. So the problem could be that there is a funnel in which we are seeing a drop off at a certain point in the funnel. The problem could be that we are seeing customers are traversing through the site, but are on a particular stage, we are seeing that the customers are dropping off, are landing onto the page, but we are seeing a big drop off. So then you understand and you gather data to inform that whether the problem is substantial in nature for us to solve or not. So you do customer analysis, go deep into customer behaviors, understand through qualitative and quantitative analysis like voice of customers. Are there any CSAT or NPS surveys that were conducted in the past where customers are finding issues? You go and find out any existing customer problems, customer reviews that customers are posting related to the problem. You substantiate it. And once you have enough evidence that the problem is real, it has data behind it, that's when you go and start writing the requirements to solve the problem. Now, I encourage, and I myself in the past have done it multiple times, to bring mostly our cross functional partners along in the journey as we start ideating into the solutions. So, great partners here could be like working very closely with engineering. And because sometimes there are solutions that engineering, you product can come together with engineering and solve really well, but then documenting how best you can solve the problem with its solutions, and then coming up with reasoning behind why one solution is better than the other. How can we reduce engineering effort while producing the maximum impact? So like with 20% of effort, how can you produce 80% of impact? Something like that. and then crafting requirements once you know that this is how we are going to solve the problem. And then you partner with engineering, you come up with solutions, write the requirements for that solution, understand what tech you're going to use to solve for the solution. Sometimes in this process, you also work with your qualitative research partners to make sure that there can be two times at the while you're solving the problem that might be meaningful. One is that you put the solution in the hands of the customer and ask them that does this solution resonate with them, this is what they were expecting. Or you could solve the problem, make sure there is a minimum required, like minimum viable product that you ship out there, put it in the hands of the customer and see how they react to it. So those are the two ways I feel that you can go ahead and start documenting as well as putting it in the hands of the customer to see early feedback and gauge if your solution is headed into the right direction. I think your question was even more overarching around the requirements. So once this picture is fully clear to you, that's when you go ahead and write a product requirements document, which can either be derived from a business requirements document, or in some companies, product and business is the same. So for example, in Amazon, while I was working, we didn't have a business partner. So in that case, product would own solving the problem, writing the requirements themselves. And in cases like Walmart is has a business component along with us, so we have a four in the box structure. So we derive some of the product requirements from the business requirements also, if there is a BRD already existing.
Okay,
Does
I
that
see.
help?
That makes sense. Yes, that helps.
That's
And
great.
so then, yeah, and you mentioned in the beginning the vision of the product, right? So you have these two sides. You have vision that you define for your product, and you have user feedback that's coming in, what you just explained. How do you balance the two in terms of prioritization, which to work on, and things like that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Balancing is required to an extent that, so customer is key here. We have to make sure that, me especially being in the customer experience domains, we have to make sure that the journey is very frictionless for the customer as much as possible. And we want to launch an experience which is best in class. So sometimes this balance comes very easy when you put yourself in the shoes of the customers, and
Hmm.
you make sure that the feedback is coming, but you're still making sure that what is the most impactful of these requirements that I want to prioritize, and the solution is in prioritization. So you prioritize the features which are the most impactful for the customer, and then you have a backlog of your features that you can ship along the way. So it's not something that has to be done now, it can be done in an iterative way. But the main 80% of the solution that you have built, we want to make sure that that one is focusing for first and foremost on our customers, so that we are obsessed about our customers. We want to make sure they are put in the forefront of making these decisions.
Yeah, okay, I see. And then moving to the execution side of phase. So once you figure it out, you have all these requirements, you know what you want to try to do in terms of prototype maybe or MVP. How you define the minimal thing that you want to release as a first step to start getting that feedback?
That's a very good question, Brett. So, when it comes to defining the minimum viable scope, so product managers, by the nature of us, we first once we understand the customer problem really well, by going deep into the customer problem, talking to a lot of stakeholders around us, such as design, analytics, legal, family trust, lots of different partners we have, depending on which product you're working on. You figure out that what is it that the customers are asking for, and what is it that will solve their core need by the first iteration of the product that we are launching. Rest of the things could come iteratively. So with gut, with intuition, using data, and using all the customer research that we have done, customer customer experience products, because that's the space that I have worked on, we develop a
Mm-hmm.
sense, a product sense it's called. Like you understand that if I'm able to provide these 5 priority features to our customers that will solve their core need, rest all will be delighters that we can bring at a later stage. But table stakes, what is it? And then there is also this concept of called a minimum lovable product and not just the minimum viable product. Product managers strive to build products which are lovable in nature. And
Mm-hmm.
the way the term is coined is that you just don't want to ship a functional product out there, but you want to ship a product that will be loved by your customers and that'll remain with them quite after they've used the product. So aiming to always launch minimum lovable products, but sometimes you're always constrained by time, resources, a lot of other factors. So solving the customer
Mm-hmm.
need can be done by an MVP. I think it's important to ship and put it in the hands of the customer, get the feedback, and then iterate upon it. That's the methodology that I always use.
Yeah, that's great because for me it's really challenging when I work with product managers to define that minimal thing that we need to deliver. Is they always, not always, but many times they try to squeeze more than we actually need to and add bells and whistles and say, yeah, we really need that. We need to show off this thing or that thing. And it becomes that balance of like, okay, do you really want to do this in like 6 months or 2 months? Like or 2 weeks, you need to pick your minimal thing. So
Exactly.
that's good.
You're spot
Yeah.
on. And those conversations are because great product managers are trying to strive the balance and making sure that we are shipping something that is meaningful, impactful for our customers than just shipping a functional product. But I get your point. The constraints come into play, and we have to, operate within those constraints and push the boundaries as much as we can.
Right, right. So then, what are some of the frameworks and or methodologies that you use for execution, for building the work or delivering the work?
So it depends on organization to organization, but for product, the most important thing is coming up with a roadmap of where you want to go take the product, and then coming up with the methodology to do use ruthless prioritization to make sure that we can understand the difference between what are the top features that will give us the maximum value, and different kinds of, every company has its own way of doing prioritization. So some employ using rice model, which is reach, impact, confidence and effort. But really it comes down to making sure that the impact is very clearly articulated. We understand in matrixed organization there is also this concept of dependencies on other teams, and making sure that all the other teams have also prioritized that particular initiative so that so that your product can launch. So it's a function of making sure that there is impact, there is cross functional alignment, and then there is how much effort is it going to take. And sometimes
Mhm.
there are innovative products that are coming bottoms up, and then there are some which are top down, which are strategically important for the company. And then you strike the right balance between the two as a product lead, making sure that there is a mix of products that you are launching and taking to market. There is strategic ones which are absolutely important for the business, and then the other ones are more innovative solutions that we want to pursue, and we find a balance between the two depending on the organization that you're working in.
And then so you also have again this I'm coming back to this balance and things. Um, when you're delivering these things, and how do you make sure that whatever that you're delivering is also applicable or also um, align is a better word with your business objectives. It's not necessarily something that customer is asking um, that one particular company or person may have problem with, but it also actually helps your business to grow and bring value to the market.
That's a very good question. That comes in the aspect of coming up with the impact. So whenever you are you are coming up with an idea that you want to go and solve, you always figure out the impact behind it. What will be the customer impact, which you can calculate using the rice model. Like, you can do impact in terms of how many customers is it going to impact. Then there is an aspect of, either you'll be able to move the revenue metrics, or you'll be able to solve for customer satisfaction, or you'll be able
Mhm.
to put reduce cost, bring cost savings in. So multiple aspects of the product impact that you can articulate really well when you are thinking about the problem. And then that's the way you make sure that there's not just the benefit to, let's say, a particular business, but then there is also customer impact that's associated. You can work through achieve that through working closely with analytics. You can do impact sizing by doing the right estimations in the beginning, and that you can apply in the future to make sure that the product that we are launching is not just solving for one kind of an impact, but it's actually solving for multiple impacts. And that's how a feature becomes
Mhm.
very, very valuable, because you're not just satisfying the customers, which is very important. That's your first and foremost goal, but it's also helping run the business really well. And mostly it's a
Mhm.
balance, but customers are always kept at the forefront.
Yeah. So you mentioned analytics. Um, what when you connect them, or when you start measuring the analytics, and how much time you allow to collect data to really assess how successful the launch was?
So are you asking before the launch when you do the estimations, or are you talking about post launch?
Post launch, yes.
Or post launch? Okay. So it depends
Mm-hmm.
how you're launching the product.
Mm-hmm.
If you are doing a quick launch, let's say if you are doing a A/B test to launch, you can run multiple experiments, right? If you're doing an A/B test, typically it takes around 3 to 4 weeks to run a test, A/B test, and then that's when you start gathering evidence that is statistically significant, because it takes
Mm-hmm.
that much time depending on the change that you have produced. Or you can do a pre-post analysis where you do direct launches. But always, this decision of the rollout or the go to market strategy is not a decision that product managers take in isolation. There is a decision, there is a rollout plan that we produce depending on which
Mm-hmm.
organization you're working with. Every org will have their own version of a go to market plan. And through that plan, you put in, like, what are your how much time is it going to spend, which all markets you want to launch a product, what will be the customer impact, what will be the rollout cadence, how you want to roll out. So there are multiple factors that go into coming up with a go to market plan. And then many a times in many orgs, you would partner with your marketing team as well, to make sure that product and marketing work together to produce this plan and then launch it to market.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. And then, from what your experience, what are the most pitfalls with the execution phase?
That's a very good question. In my experience, pitfalls would be primarily in the context of, let's say, there is a problem that we are solving, we have a solution in mind, we have a PRD, everything is going great. But then what happens is, sometimes we have to make short term decisions that we make in order to continue rolling with our execution. And we make sure that
Mm-hmm.
the product stays on time, and product is launched successfully within the time frame that we are expecting. So at that point, when we are making these short term decisions, sometimes short term decisions can lead to some tech debt that goes along the way. So for that reason, collection of tech debt is not good for any of the organizations. So it's very important for product to make sure that any decisions that we are making along the way have to be thought through in a lot more detail. So we should take the time to pause, write a quick doc, figuring out why is that occurring, why are we going towards this solution, partner with engineering, figure out what's the best way to solve it, And think about scalability. Tomorrow it's your one product, but it could lay the foundation for multiple other products. So if you're making a short term decision that might impact the future, that is something you have to be very on top of, in terms of making sure that these decisions are made very thoughtfully. The pros and cons of each of the solutions are being weighed. So take the time to pause, reflect, and make, even if you're making decisions, make sure you've documented those, so that as soon as you get time post launch of the product, you can go back and revise it, and are not impacting the long term strategy of your product or any peripheral products that might follow your product or use your architectural solution. So that's one big pitfall I feel, that sometimes, because we are in that, in that mode of, launch, or in the mode of taking shipping the product, sometimes we can be a little bit fast in our decision making. And
Mhm.
depending on the organizations, the tech team sometimes really helps to, or consulting an architect for that matter. Like if there's an architect on the team, consult them and say that, I'm running into this problem, I think there are two solutions, short term, long term, are you aligned with it? So seeking their input. And even for organizations to have architects, because I've been in some of the organizations in the past which don't have architects, so I feel that's a very
Mhm.
important function that product can quickly consult us outside of the tech managers or directors that we are working with.
Yeah, that's great. I recently talked to somebody who is engineering leader, and he was talking about tech debt also, and innovation, and how one is in the way of another one, and it's important tech debt. And I also seen organization who either doing only MVP and releasing those hand-baked solutions to the customer, or on the other hand, some companies are never doing MVP. They're doing the final designs, the final solutions, and releasing only those, which takes like half a year for every single small feature. Uh, and I consider those pitfalls as well, and kind of like, well, you have to be a little bit more innovative, and release more frequently, and smaller pieces to learn from the customers. But at the same time, remember to come back and clean up. So it's actually scalable and more robust for the future. So
Totally.
that
Can't agree more.
that's where the architects also, or tech directors or leaders, can really step up and say, you know what, we have to put some rules in place, uh,
Hmm.
and control product people a little bit. How it's done. Yeah. Um, so also something may happen while you're doing your execution. You started doing this work. You want to get something out to customers, and then last minute things come up, and something you may learn. How do you typically handle those type cases?
So that's a very good call out. And I think product managers are always like, there's so many things going on. They're always in the lookout for any new trends or any new thing that can come in the middle. So I think if that occurs, we just have to take a step back, figure out where are we in our process. Are we in the beginning ideation stage? Anything changes doesn't really, it might increase our discovery exit time, but at least it helps you, pivot immediately, because it's an ideation phase. The moment you get into development and then things change, that's where there are recourse of the, we have to make a different decision to make sure that the customer end result doesn't impact, and then our engineers time also, effort is not wasted. So, in that case, whenever you hear new information, take a step back and don't involve engineers like just as yet. Understand the impact on the product, because some of it might just be noise that we are dealing with. So, understand the credibility of the new information. And after you're doing your due diligence, you have understood that, this is something I have to start involving our engineering in, because it's going to change the course of the product. And that's when you should start talking to your engineering leaders, make sure they are aware, brainstorm with them what will be the best way. But in all honesty, take engineers and product, bring them along in the journey, so that surprises are not there towards the end of their product. development, but before we exit development, like at the right moment, involve them and make sure you've done some thinking before you involve them, so that the
Mhm.
source is credible and you are understanding what that changes. Does that
Okay.
help to
Yeah.
answer the question?
Ye- yes. Yes. That makes sense. Yeah. So just something when you were talking, and I remembered something you said before. So when you have this MVP release, let's say, uh, how how do you go about collecting feedback from users?
Hmm.
Are there any tools for that to measure or to survey? I know there are some tools, but specifically in your case, from your experience, what are the best ones and which ones work best to assess how successful it was from qualitative standpoint, I guess?
Qualitative, yeah. So many different orgs. I want to not just talk for one. I mean, I want to make sure in my experience, there are lots of ways to collect feedback. So either there can be CSAT, which is very industry standard. NPS is another industry standard. So just to expand on the acronym, CSAT stands for Customer
Hmm.
Satisfaction Score. Then there is NPS, which is your Net Promoter Score. Those are the two different, qualitative feedback that we can collect from our customers. Outside of this, customers can come to our websites and also give us feedback. So understanding what all are our inbuilt tools that through which we collect feedback, and then making sure that there is one place where you can see all the feedback. So voice of customer should always be consolidated, and there are teams in most of the organizations who make sure they are collecting all of this information, so that product managers are being supplied by this information well, so that they can make the right decisions. So tools, I feel there can be different based on company to company, but really the what we are looking to learn after the launch has happened through a qualitative way. Through a quantitative way, depending on how you have launched, what is the product, you would have different metrics, and you would either run your own queries, or you would look for your analytics teams to see the results of how the metrics are getting impacted as the product is launched. So that's how in most of the organizations we collect feedback from our customers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good because I think uh, sometimes what I see happening is people maybe setting up their tools or features and products to collect all the data from like Google Analytics or some queries they run or whatever. But then this feedback loop from actually talking to people, collecting qualitative data is missing. And it may take, to hear a complaint a year later to
Yeah,
address something that could have been done on earlier. So
yeah.
I think setting up like maybe survey or maybe some sort of mechanism to collect from people earlier is much better than later.
Super important.
So,
You have touched upon it really well, because all the surveys that I'm talking about should happen. So this is again a part of your making sure your post launch, how will you measure success?
mhm.
So one is your quantitative way of measuring success, the other one is the qualitative way. So as product
Mhm.
managers, once we are deciding the launch, we also figure out what are the ways through which we will collect data, and we partner with the teams to make sure the right data is flowing in. And this happens really as soon as you launch. It's not an afterthought. This is all thought through before taking the product to market, because data from customers is so important for us to iterate and use as we go. And many times new products are born through launching the previous features, that you want to make sure that customers are liking something or not liking something, and hence another feature will be born out of those customer comments. So super
Yeah.
critical, super urgent, depending on what product you have launched.
Yeah, and I think that we're talking about the first impression. When people get exposed to new features earlier in the beginning, they may have more honest feedback and they say, I love it or I hate it,
Mhm.
rather than 6 months later when they had already used it a bunch of times and they said, well, maybe it's okay. I don't, first I hated it, but now I'm okay with it. So I think in the beginning, it's like you get more truth out of them. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's I think that's pretty on your on point for it.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit to talk about product managers. So, in your opinion, what differentiates the top 1% of product managers from everybody else?
Yeah, that's my most favorite part of the interview right now, because I want to make sure that the answer to this is crystal clear for product managers out there. I think, in my personal opinion, when I differentiate between the top 1%, like the great product managers, from the regular product managers, first and foremost, I think strategic alignment. Like, those top 1% don't just excel at delivering solutions to the customers, but also ensuring that these solutions align with our overall strategy, and making sure that the product is set up for long term scalability. They have built relationships along the way, so it's not just shipping a product, but it is shipping effectively and documenting the process meticulously. That is one. The second important thing is influence and alignment. So, a key responsibility of the PM is also to align stakeholders with a vision, mission, strategy. So, even when a PM performs all of these tasks diligently, observing customers, observing markets, connecting the dots, making informed decisions, there still might be, misalignments with stakeholders' mental models, because their mental model, their incentives might not be in resonance with what the product manager is building. So, top PMs are expected to influence those stakeholders to align their interests to those of the customers, and taking a unified approach. So, that is something super critical for that top percent population. And the third one I would say is making sure that you are doing ruthless prioritization, because we have to stay focused, and the significance of focus would mean that you will have to say no to many good ideas out there to concentrate on the most impactful ideas. So, I mean, we can be as much proud of the things that we have, done or launched, but we equally need to be proud of the things that we have not launched, in order for us to launch only the most impactful features out there. But experimentation is very important. So in this case, when I say ruthless prioritization, it's not for experimentation. You should do thousands of experiments and figure out what are the 20% or
Mhm.
10% that are the most impactful ones that you want to launch. So it's around making sure that there is healthy experimentation focus, and making sure that the wrong or the ideas which are not as impactful, we should be ruthless with our prioritization. Those three, I would say, if are done right, the product managers are thinking holistically, are thinking about a solution end to end, and will make the right trade offs along the way. That's what I feel with.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I think I just want to add a little bit on the experimentation side is that even like if your organization doesn't really allow you to, like, they may think you're wasting time building this many little things and test them out, somehow find a way to prove or maybe show some examples that they actually work. And that's actually the great way for innovation and great way to figure out what actually works for people and what not. Because we know, like, there's crazy statistics, something like 90 or 80% of features are rarely used or never used,
Yeah,
and we keep building them, keep putting them. And if you can show some analytics around that to your leaders, to your stakeholders, to your business owners, then they can realize, like, oh, let me better experiment a little bit more and figure out what actually going to be used, rather than build a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of code that nobody's going to use.
so
So
true. You've just, yeah, that's such a good summary. um,
yeah,
because experimentation is the road to success, because that'll make you learn so many new aspects which you wouldn't have learned if you would have just directly shipped the product in the market. Because then it's
yeah,
like forced upon, like, then it has to be accepted, because either then you roll back, which will just take down or not utilize your engineering efforts as well as you can quantify when it's an experimental launch.
right, right. So and then now these days, I just have to ask, and I ask pretty much everybody when I interview. artificial intelligence. How do you think it's impacting product manager's job? And if you personally experienced any impact, maybe you used it already, or you look into how to use it and apply in your job.
Yeah, that's a very timely question. And then I think this question goes back to, I think, 2018, 2019 at least, is where I have been like reading about it or have been attending, went to Stanford to learn more about AI starting those years, because I felt that this is something which is coming and will impact us very soon. But the extent of the impact that happened in late 2022 and early 2023 is something which wasn't even, like thought through. Like it was just like a boom that occurred, and now we are all in it. So I think it has impacted us. We have been doing, most of the companies that I've worked for have been very much doing machine learning, using AI in many different ways, even before generative AI came into being. And now that generative AI has picked up steam last year, every product manager is thinking about how best they can leverage generative AI. Like, can they reduce the amount of information or content that we expose to the customer and make it very relevant through Gen AI and then present it to the customers? I think that's a question every product manager is dealing with. So I think it's very important for us to like stay on top of it and make sure that we are staying ahead of the curve by, remaining effective and relevant, and making sure relevant content is being shown to the customer. So again, AI, as I've always been, saying, is more of like a solution, is a tool that can help you solve your customer problems properly, but it's not a problem. Many product managers are thinking about how can we use AI. Like they just start with thinking about using AI rather than coming up with use cases that could be helpful by using AI. So I want us to think about AI as a tool or as a solution that can help us solve problems. But as product managers, we are tasked, or we this is how we identify problems and then come up with solutions. So if there are problems out there that you feel that can be solved using AI, then those problem definition, identification, making sure you have the right data to solve the problems, that is very relevant for us to think about. And I think we just need to stay on top of all the trends, see where you can use Gen AI, whereas you can use, artificial intelligence, machine learning in a way that you can provide as much relevant content to the customers based on the context, their profiles, most of that. So making sure that we are delivering best in class solutions to our customers. And then from my standpoint, the way I stay updated, because I think that's a need of the hour as well, for us to stay abreast of the trends. So I think continuous learning, as product managers, we not only need to be informed, but now is the time, I think it's crossed the time, in fact, where we need to do hands-on experience, like get your hands dirty, engage in products that involve AI. This could mean collaborating with your data scientists and your, analytics partners together, and building models that can help solve those problems. And then if you're able to find that product or portfolio within your own company, great. Like you can always find for opportunities to, use Gen AI in your products versus others. But if you don't have that opportunity, I feel that you should continue to like, stay connected with the industry leaders or stay connected with universities, like take a course, get your hands dirty, experience it firsthand, build solutions that can help solve the problem, and then use it as a side project, basically, to help you
Mhm.
understand the context really well. So that's how I stay abreast and make sure that I'm involved in products which involve, usage of AI. But then making sure that you're understanding the fundamentals, like having that core knowledge of AI is also very important for all of us to get, irrespective of whether we are solving a problem using AI versus not. And then networking with the right people, making sure that, you are working with the data scientists. If not, like do a one-on-one with them, have coffee chats, understand what problems or use cases are they solving, that are being solved using AI. I think through that also you build a lot of context, And then getting, once you take any courses, you will understand the ethics regulation piece also behind AI. I think
Mhm.
that's also very important for product to understand, because you will get that knowledge once you work on an AI product and have to deal with legal. But I think it's important for you to do that proactive learning and integrate AI road mapping in your product strategy, and make sure that if there is a future for your product with AI, you've thought through it from a vision standpoint as well.
Yeah, that's great. I just went to this conference for Agile conference, and there were a big number of topics about AI and how it's changing developers world, product world, delivery, discovery, everything.
Yeah.
And if you just getting exposed to AI, I would say you already kind of late. So it's the best time to catch up right now and start getting into, like, read a couple of books, go take a couple of courses, play with whatever you use, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, Copilot. Um, yeah, it's only gonna grow. It's not going away, and I think you have to adopt yourself to that new reality, just like we did 30 years ago to the internet. Um, it's not gonna go away.
Yeah, it's here
So
to stay for
yeah,
sure. And
yeah,
then
and
use it
mhm,
well in your day to day. I'm sure it's going to help with, so it's just helping so many employees out there with their productivity. So might as well figure out which use cases work for you really well, and then share it with your partners, peers, leaders, so that they can also find it productive. And then the other thing which I want to add to what you just said, Whit, is that developing the communication around AI, I think, is also very critical skill for product managers, because being able to explain this complex AI concept in very simple terms to non-technical stakeholders, such as, maybe your business teams or your like different SBU teams, is very important, because then it becomes the role of the product to communicate why we are using it, how is it going to help us, what kind of signals can we include, that other cross functional teams can help us. So I think it's evaluating AI opportunities very critically, and not every problem will need a AI solution, but if there is a problem that is being solved through AI, like explaining it, explainability part of it is very, very important. It's a very important
mhm,
skill for product AI product managers to have.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, we'll have to see it how quickly and when it goes. Well, I have high hopes for it. I hope it will simplify our life and help us build better products and enjoy better products too. Because I'm, as a consumer, I would like to use something that is pretty cool and innovative and easy and helping me. So that would be great to see. So yeah.
Can't agree more.
Um, Yeah, so we're coming to an end here, and at the end, I just wanted to ask you if you have any advice for product managers, just in general, something, or maybe something we haven't covered today. So yeah.
So, my advice for product managers, leaders, wherever you are in your product life cycle, I feel first and foremost, we need to be always in a state of embracing learning. So, there will be learnings along the way. So, make sure that you are staying adaptable and flexible enough to be able to embrace those learnings. Then, the second advice I want to leave out is that networking is extremely important within the company, outside the company. So find networking avenues. It's either your university network that you have, or tap into your certification network. Try to find network of like-minded people that can help you share ideas. And in addition to that, mentorship is also very important. Mentor and mentee relationship brings in a lot more opportunities for you to explore, which you wouldn't have explored if you were in your bubble. So that's one thing which I want to make sure that all the PMs who are listening to this take away. And then finally, fostering innovation amongst your teams. I think that is a very important thing, because we want to make sure that the teams feel empowered to be able to launch products which are innovative in the market. and that can help like all the bottoms up ideas to come and to flourish and maybe become patentable at some point in the future. So fostering innovation within your teams is very important, so that the best ideas may win. So I would say embracing learning, making sure we are finding opportunities to network, investing in mentors and mentee relationship, and fostering innovation. Those would be the things that I would want as a takeaway from this talk for whosoever is listening to it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Those are very good recommendations and advices. So that's great. All right. Thank you very much for your time today. It was a pleasure. And I think we covered a good number of topics and insightful information from you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wit, for hosting me today and for making it so conversational. It didn't feel like it was an hour spent, it feels like an hour very well spent. So thank you for having me today and for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I hope we can talk more in the future. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
the best.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.